Hello everyone, my name is Anil Poddar. So today I am going to discuss about unit number 3, basic processing unit, lecture number 13. Now let us go through the contents that we are going to discuss in this video. Some fundamental concepts about the basic processing units, register transfers. Now let us discuss some fundamental concepts how basic processing unit works. Now to execute a program, the processor fetches one instruction at a time and performs the operation specified. So whenever you write a program and if you want to execute that program, the processor does not execute all the lines of the program at a time. That is, it fetches one instruction at a time. It does not execute all instructions at a time. That is, it fetches only one instruction at a time and performs the operations. And whatever the instructions are fetched from the successive memory locations until a branch or jump is encountered. So whenever the program is executed by the processor will fetch one instruction one by one and then it will execute those instructions. Now the processor keeps tracks of the address of the memory location containing the next instruction to be fetched using the program counter PC. Now suppose the processor has fetched one instructions. Okay, now if it's fetching the next instruction, it contains a pointer called as program counter. So what this program counter does is, once it has fetched the current instructions, the program counter will get incremented to the successive, that is the next memory location that contains the address of the next instruction to be executed. Now after fetching in instructions, the contents of PC are updated to point to the next instruction in the sequence. Now suppose if first instruction is executed or first instruction is fetched. Once it is fetched, the program counter will now point to the next instruction, that is the second instruction, and it will get updated in the sequence. Now the branch instruction may load a different value into the PC because it's called as a jump instructions. Now instruction register, that is called as IR, it's also another type of register in processor. Suppose each instruction contains 4 bytes, so and it is stored in one memory word. Now to execute the instructions, the following steps will be followed. The first step is fetch the contents of the memory location pointed to by the PC, which means program counter will first point to the first instructions. Wherever it is pointing, the contents of the location is taken as the instruction to be executed. So that instructions pointed by the program counter will be fetched by the processor. So they are loaded into the instruction register. So whatever the contents that are pointed by the program counter will be fetched by the processor and will be loaded into the instruction register. Now assume memory is byte addressable. Okay, now increment the contents of the PC by 4. Now once the instruction has been fetched from the program counter, now program counter will now point to the next instruction. Now next instruction will be present, as I told, if the memory is 4 bytes long, so PC will be incremented by 4 bytes. Suppose the first instruction is present at location 1000, the next instruction will be present at location 1004. Third one, carry out the action specified by the instruction in the instruction register. So whatever the instruction that is fetched will be stored into the instruction register. So whatever the contents that are present in the instruction register, the certain actions will be carried out. Now if the instruction occupies more than one word, okay, means now if one word is 4 bytes, if it contains more than one words, so step 1 and step 1 must be written as many times as necessary. Now suppose if it is more than 4 bytes long, again you have to fetch the instruction one by one to complete that instructions. These two steps are referred as fetch phase. So whatever the first step 1, fetching the contents as well as incrementing the program counter, they are called as fetch phase. Step 3, it's called as a execution phase. that is executing the instruction that is present in the instruction register. Now this is the diagram how the program will be executed. This is called as the internal organization of the processor containing arithmetic logical unit. Now during the execution phase, whatever the instructions, if it requires some mathematical calculations, it should contain a arithmetic logic unit, as well as the all registers, as you can see, are connected via a single common buses. Now the data and address line of the external memory bus are connected to the internal processor bus via the memory, data register, MDR, and the memory address register. So MDR and MDR, as I told in the previous chapters, is called as memory address register and memory data register. MER is used for storing the address of these instructions, and MDR is used for storing the data that is present in the next instructions. Now as shown in the figure, the data and address lines of the external memory are connected to an internal processor by the memory data register, MDR, and the memory address register. Now the register MDR has two inputs and two outputs. Okay, as you can see in the figure, the data may be loaded into the MDR either from the memory bus or from the internal processor bus. Now the data stored in MDR may be placed either on either bus, so it can be placed on either of the buses. So the input of memory address register will be connected to the internal bus, and its output will be connected to the external bus. Now the processor registers are not through Rn-1, that is the processor registers. So these are the special purpose register from R0 through Rn-1. So it may vary in number and use from one processor to another. So it may be from R0 to R4, or you can say R0 to R3. Now the registers is provided for general purpose used by the programmer. Now some registers are used as special purpose registers, such as index registers or stack pointers. So these are called as a special purpose registers. Now three registers, Y, Z, and temp. So these are not concerned with the programmer, as they are never referenced explicitly by any instructions. So the three registers what you are seeing, Y, Z, and temp, so these are with the program point of view, so it will not be referenced explicitly by any instructions. So these registers is never being used in the writing the instructions. Now the multiplexer, you can see, that is MUX, selects either the output of register Y or a constant value 4 to be provided as input A of the ALU. So as you can see here, the multiplexer takes a constant value 4 as well as the output of register Y. So these are the two inputs for multiplexer, and the output will be provided as the input A to the ALU. Now the constant 4 is used to increment the contents of the program counter. So as we have discussed, after fetching the single instruction, the program counter is incremented. Now two possible values for the mux control input, that is select as select 4 and select Y for selecting the constant 4 or register. Now as instruction executes or proceeds, data is transferred from one register to another, passing through the ALU to perform some arithmetic or logic operation. So as the instruction is executing, so one data is transferred from one register to another. That data will pass through this ALU to perform some arithmetic or logic operations. Now the instruction decoder and control logic unit, as you can see here, these both unit implements the actions specified by the instructions loaded in the IR register. So as I told, whatever the instructions which are fetched, which will be loaded into the IR register. So in this register, it contains all the instruction which is to be executed. Now the decoder generates the control signals needed to select the register involved and direct transfer of data. So whatever the decoder is there, it will generate the signals which is required for the direct transfer of data. Now the registers, ALU and the interconnecting buses are collectively called as data path. So registers and the arithmetic logic unit and the buses, all three together are called as data path because data passes through these three components. Now an instructions can be executed by performing one or more of the following operation in the specified sequence. So there is a sequence how to execute a single instructions. The first one is transfer a word of data from one processor register to another or to the ALU. So when you fetch the instruction, the word of data will be transferred from one processor register to another. Second sequence, perform an arithmetic or logic operation and store the result in processor register. So once the data is stored in the one register or to the ALU, in the ALU we perform the arithmetic and logic operation and again store that result in the processor registers.
Hello, Moto.
Now the third step is fetch the contents of a given memory location and load them into a processor registers. So this is the third step. The fourth step is store a word of data from processor register into a given memory location. Now let us see how the transfer of content or transfer of content from one register to another takes place. Now instruction execution involves a sequence of steps in which data will be transferred from one register to the another. So if you want to transfer the data from one register to another, we'll see these are the steps involved. Now for each register you can see there are two control signals, okay, that are used to place the contents of that register on the bus or to load the data on the bus into the register. So as you can see, for each register there's a black line, it's called as a control signal. So what it does is it used to place the contents of that register on the bus, or it is used to load the data, whatever data is present on the bus, into the register. That is the reverse process. Either placing the data, one control signal is used to place data from the bus into the register, and one control signal is used to place data from the register into the bus. Now the input and output of register RI are connected to the bus via switches. So as you can see, the input and output, as it is RI, will be connected to the bus via switches or controlled by the signals RI in and RI out. Now when R input is set to 1, so it is set to 1, the data on the bus are loaded into the RI. Now when R out is set to 1, so when output is set to 1, the contents of register RI will be placed into the bus. But when output is 0, the bus can be used for transferring data from other registers. Now suppose the contents of the register R1 are transferred to register R4. So as you can see, suppose if you want to transfer the contents from R1 to register R4. So this can be done as follows. First, enable the output of register 1 by setting R1 out to 1. So output of the first register will be set to 1. Now this places the contents of R1 on the processor bus. So what are the contents will be placed on the processor bus. Second one, enable the input of register R4. So input of register R4 by setting R4 in to 1. So whatever the input will be there, if I said enable the input of register to 1, so if input of the fourth register is set to 1, So this will load the data from the processor bus into the register R4. That is, the input is ready, so data will be placed from the processor bus into the register R4. All operations and data transfers within the processor takes place within time periods. So that time period will be defined by a processor clock. Now the control signals that are responsible for a particular transfer are inputted at the start of the clock cycle. Now in this example, R1 out and R4 in will be set to 1. Now all the operations and data transfer within the processor takes place within the time periods defined by a processor clock. So there is a clock period, so that during that period the processor or data transfers takes place. So that period is called as processor clock. Now the control signals which are responsible for a particular transfer are inputted at the start of the clock cycle. So as you can see, RI in and R4 in are set to 1. That is, R1 out and R4 in will be first set to 1. Now the register consists of an edge triggered flip-flop. So in flip-flop, it flips the output and input between 0 and 1. So at the next active edge of the clock, the flip-flops containing R4 will load the data present at their inputs. Now at the same time, the control signals, that is R1 out and R4 in, it will return to again to the 0th position. As you can see here, the control signals, that is R1 out. Okay, so R1 out will return again to the 0, as well as R4 in also will return to 0. Now we'll see how 1-bit register of RI will be implemented. Now a 2-input multiplexer, as you can see here, it's used to select the data applied to the input of an edge triggered D flip-flop. So this is a diagram. So when the control input RI in is 1, now as you can see, RI in, if it is set to 1, the multiplexer selects the data on that bus. The data will be loaded into the flip-flop at the rising edge of the clock. Now suppose when RI in is 0. When RI in is 0, the multiplexer, as you can see here, feeds back the value currently stored in flip-flop. Now the Q output of the flip-flop, it will be connected to the bus via tri-state gate. Now when RI out is 0, so when a output is 0, the gate's output will be the high impedance, means electrically disconnected state. Now this will correspond to an open circuit state. Open circuit means there is no connection, and when RI out is 1, so when R in output is 1, the gate drives the bus to 0 or 1 depending on the value of Q. Now in this video we have discussed about phases of program execution, register transfers, internal organization of a processor, implementation of 1 bit of register RI. Thank you.